Hey everyone. So this is my 1911 from the previous video. Did a couple of things to it. So I'm going to show you kind of what was happening with this gun and how I resolved it to a point that I'm happy with what's going on now. So let's get this TLR1 off here. This is an old school TLR1 and I bought it used mostly because I have TLR1 holsters. I have the Filster holster that works with kind of anything equipped with the TLR1, and that works really well. Also, I kind of like the look of it. A 1911 with a light. It's non-traditional, and I kind of like that about 1911s when they look non-traditional with new sights and rails and all that jazz. So this gun originally had the number 2 linkage in it. And by original, I mean that's just what I put in it when I was working with it, when I was building with it. Now, a long time ago, I had a video that showed a case of bullet setback, a setback bullet being shot in this gun, and it had a catastrophic failure, which is pretty bad, but someone in the comment section brought up to me that it was possible that I was coming out of lock too early. So I looked up what could cause that, and in the last video, I don't know if I really made it clear about this bullet linkage, this barrel linkage. If this barrel linkage, which is responsible for holding the barrel up into the slide, up into these locking grooves, if this is too short, when it throws backward, it pulls down too quickly. If it's long, it pushes further up into the lugs relative to this axis, this hole right here. And then as it comes down, it drops it out of the lugs further. You have a higher radius. It's not much of a radius, but it's a bigger radius. So the reason I'm holding this pin is still super loose. I can probably just knock it off by bumping it from the other side. You can see it's kind of driving out on its own right now. But anyway, this is the number 4 linkage. Now, number 4 is a hair larger than the stock linkage length, and I had number 2, which was a hair shorter than the stock linkage length. What was happening is, because we have a 2-piece feeder amp, the bullet was coming up the feeder amp when I changed out that linkage, and the barrel was pushed further, and that made a little bump that things were getting stuck on. So I did a bit of work. I cut the barrel back with the Dremel, and then I took a long time filing it and sanding it even smoother, and now it's about a 3000 grit sand job. And now it will feed reliably full metal jackets and hollow points that have a relatively, this bullet doesn't want to come out of here, that have a relatively simple profile. Let me explain what I mean. Okay, so here's 2 hollow points right here. The first, this is a Black Hills ammunition, 115 grain in this hand, is a Black Hills 115 grain hollow point. You can see that the profile is a little more narrow up at the top, and what that allows is for when you're coming up the feed ramp, the tip of the bullet is kind of already pointed down the barrel as it's being loaded. So you hit the feed ramp on the side of the bullet instead of on the front of the bullet. This is a Liberty Defense, I think it's called. It's a Barnes bullet, all copper, and you can see it has a much different profile. Now it's on the right-hand side. It has a much different profile than the one on the left. This one, the edge, the top edge right here of the bullet tends to grab on the feed ring. Full metal jackets don't have any issue, but I'll show you what that looks like when these bullets are loading into here with a relatively weak magazine. Now, granted, this doesn't happen with full magazines, with good quality magazines. This is a Chip McCormick that whenever I'm carrying this gun or I want to take it to the range or something, this is the first magazine that goes with it. This is loaded with those good hollow points. Not that these are bad hollow points. This actually, I pulled this out of a magazine for my Glock 19C, and they shoot great out of the 19C. They just don't work so well out of here. Now, it should be noted that after I did the work to the barrel, I did a lot of hand cycling with different ammunition. 1911s are not really good for hand cycling. Hand cycling doesn't always show the same kind of reaction in the gun as you would get if you're doing live fire. So, just because something cycles fine by hand, you got to remember that it doesn't mean you're good to go. So, with that in mind, everything seemed to work when I was cycling by hand with the number 4 linkage, but when I got to the range, that was not the case, clearly. However, everything did work. There we go. Everything did work with full metal jacket. So with full metal jacket, everything has been working fine with this gun, and I'm super happy for how it's been working out. Now I'm going to show you first. I am going to load this gun. It's pointed in a safe direction. First, I'm going to load it, and I'm going to show you the standard round. And we're going to see kind of what happens with that. We're also going to be listening for any kind of hops or jumps as this thing's loading. And we're going to listen to the difference between the two bullets. And I'm going to do this kind of slow, too. Okay? That was actually kind of hard to control and to keep slow. Now, it may not do it with this one, but I'm going to load it again with an empty magazine. We're going to see if we can replicate by hand what's going on. Okay, that one got hung up for a little bit and then went forward. But let's try again with an empty magazine. This magazine is a Mekgar 9-round, and there's nothing wrong with it, it's just very worn out. I do like Mekgar magazines a lot. You can see how, let me do that again actually. This magazine kind of let go of the round. The feed limps are definitely bent out of whack. This magazine kind of let goes lets go of the round as it's in the process of feeding in. Let's see if we can do that again. Right there, it lets go, and then it comes forward. So that's with the working round, the working hollow point. Let's do it with the Barnes hollow point. That worked. Actually, that worked a little better. This one was the one giving me trouble on video. Nope, and now it's just free. So not a very good feed, but it worked. Let's see if I can do this full speed. I'm just going to drop the slide. Okay. So I was hoping that it would actually show a feeding issue. I'm going to try this 2 more times. Nope, that worked. I was hoping this was going to try a feeding issue, but or going to show a feeding issue, but it's not. Ah, yes! Yes, yes, yes! I'm so excited I got a feeding issue. This is what can happen. And you can see how unreliable it is as far as a mechanism to reproduce. You can't really bump it back in place once it's here. What you can do is pull back slightly, and sometimes you can get it in place. But this is something that can be replicated on occasion. But if it happens 2% of the time, it's still too much, in my opinion. It doesn't have to be 100% perfect, but it's got to be good enough to rely on for the purpose that you want to use the gun. Now, that's an important point. This is not a carry gun for me. This is a range toy. And this is something that if I ever had to defend myself with, I would, but I would also know what kind of ammo can get loaded in this gun, and not just have a grab bag of random 9mm rounds for this. By the way, this is the way that I keep the gun in my safe. Fully loaded magazine. Definitely nothing in the chamber. Hammer down. That's how I store this gun, because next time it goes to the range, I'm just going to grab it, rack it, and shoot it, just like this. Anyway, this gun again is not a carry gun. It is almost exclusively a range gun for me. If I had to defend myself with something, I would choose something different. Okay, that's all I got. As far as I'm concerned, number 4 linkage works in this gun. The feeding issues have been resolved for the scope that I want to resolve them. I'm not going to be cutting back the barrel anymore. But if you guys are having feeding issues with the 1911, I would say they're probably, the feeding issues and extractor issues are probably the 2 most common problems with the 1911 that's not resolved by a simple magazine. Sometimes it is, but those 2 issues are really where other guns like Glocks and SIGs and HEKs have really excelled beyond the 1911. Also, the 1911 is a heavy gun. 10 rounds of 9mm in a gun that big is intense, but it shoots well at the range. It shoots really well. So sometimes if I'm on a walk with my dog, I will carry this gun, because if I need to make a 25-yard shot at night, I trust it pretty well with the ammo that I have in here. So, stay safe out there, everyone. I'm happy with how this turned out. Hope you guys are too. See you around.